We are rolling with it. Hello, we are live on PoliticsNY with Sky, and I'm here with the contestants in our live game show for Council District 40. Yay!
Yay.
Welcome. Here we go, guys. PoliticsNY with Sky. Schneps Media is the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City Council candidate to have their voices heard, faces seen, and personalities on display. And what I've learned through this process, we're up to Council District 40. I've been moderating every debate for every contested council seat. And voters want to see your personalities. That's what I've learned. So I started my 3 questions in 3 minutes series, which is to get a sense of your personalities. And tonight we'll make it a little conversational to further get a sense of your personalities for people who don't know you. So this is for District 40. It's in Brooklyn. It's Matthew Eugene's seat. It covers Crown Heights, East Flatbush, Kensington, Midwood, Prospect Park, and Prospect Lefferts Gardens. And I'd like to take a moment to thank you to our partners at Brooklyn Public Library who are working with us to promote voter education and engagement for the 2021 local elections. Our goal, Schneps Media, PoliticsNY, and the Brooklyn Public Library is to get as many people out to vote as possible in the June primary. And I see Cecilia Cortez is here, so I'm going to promote her to a panelist. There we go. We've invited everyone to participate in this debate. Anyone on the ballot is part of this. So today's debate will be fast and fun, unlike the other debates maybe that you've participated in. So each time you speak, I'll ask you to keep it to 90 seconds. That'll be my little rule. And then if anyone calls anyone else out, then you can of course respond, and we'll keep everything short and sweet and fast and fun. And this is being recorded, and it'll be on politicsny.com/debates. That's where we have recordings of the debates and upcoming debates. So just tune into our website, subscribe to our newsletter, and welcome to our candidates. I think everyone's here now. Everyone who RSVP'd is here. Nope, we're missing actually a candidate, Blake Morris, but if he's around, we will of course include him if he signs in. So thank you to the candidates who are here, and we'll just kick it off. We have 1 hour together. We'll end promptly at 6 o'clock, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So we'll just go around and have you guys introduce yourselves, but maybe we'll put a spin on the traditional introduction and ask you to tell us, what is it about yourself when you introduce yourself that makes you the best candidate for this open seat, District 40 in Brooklyn. So let's begin with Kenya, since you were here first in our little Zoom chat.
Well, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kenya Handy-Hilliard, and I'm running to be your city council member. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 2 beautiful young children. I'm a daughter of Flatbush. I was raised in the district, and I'm raising my family here. I want to make sure that we all stay here, we grow here, and we thrive right here. And that's why I'm running. I am running to bring a strong anti-poverty, equity agenda that will create greater empowerment, community, and ownership to the district. I'm the only candidate that has the legislative, budgetary, investigative, and activism experience on all levels of government to deliver for the district on day one. And I strongly believe that government should work for the people, with the people. So when you bring me to City Hall, I will bring you with me so that we can deliver for our district together. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it short and sweet. And I want to say thank you also to our live audience. We do have people watching live, and the live audience, if you have questions, you can submit them into the Q&A function, and we'll try and get to them in the short time we have together. Let's go to Edwin Raymond next.
Awesome. My name is Edwin Raymond. Born, raised, live right here in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. I love this community, dedicated to this community. I am an active NYPD lieutenant. I joined the police department specifically because of the ill treatment that the police often give certain communities, my community, people who look like me. And after gaining years of knowledge in how the department operates, became a whistleblower. At that moment, hundreds of people reached out and said, you need to run for office. You've displayed integrity and courage, something we have been missing. We don't need the typical politics. We need real people, working class people, and the knowledge that you've gained and the courage that you've demonstrated. It's only, we can't wait to see what you'll be able to accomplish with that. So obviously this is what makes me unique. As we can see, we have growing public safety concerns, and we've had issues when it comes to police misconduct and brutality. I represent the balance. I take the guesswork out of getting that work done. And this is why in that area, I'm the best candidate. I have a lot of respect for the other candidates. Everyone brings their own little flavor. But as we can see nationwide, this continues to be an issue, and we have not been able to solve it yet. I've dedicated my life's work to getting to that solution.
Thank you. Let's hear from Josue Pierre next. Oops, you're on mute.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Josue Pierre. You can call me Josh. Came here as a 5-year-old kid from Haiti. My dad worked 3 jobs to get us here. My mom worked as a home health aide, went to underfunded schools that my nephew and my nieces are slated to go to. I want to make sure that they have a better quality education that I had. But my actual background is in finance and affordable housing. I'm a former senior financial analyst at the Office of the New York City Comptroller, where my job was creating 3,000 units of real affordable housing. And for those who are sitting at home saying, well, affordable to who? I mean, $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. That's what people in Flatbush are asking for. I'm the only candidate in this race with that experience. In addition to the fact that I was a housing activist, I have the budgetary background. I was a public affairs director, and I understand the budget on levels and have worked on it on levels that other candidates have not. So whether the issue be funding our schools, pandemic recovery, et cetera, I'm ready to deal with that because I have the track record. And I believe that people in the community would tell you that they would see me in the community actively engaging way before this election cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Look at all the candidates keeping their intros short and sweet, just naturally. Let's go to Rita Joseph next.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm an educator, a mom, a community activist. I've been on the ground since I was 19 years old, participating in demonstrations, putting them together, whether it's MetroCard cuts for students, whether it's police brutality, housing, immigration. I've been on the ground ever since, doing lived experience. It wasn't through policy. Yes, I read policies, and I've also worked with other elected officials in getting resources for my families, connecting my students and the community to resources, whether it's to accompany my community to court and be an interpreter, whether it's to translate for CUNY citizenships during our time with TPS and other community activism. So I've been here on the ground with lived experience, not working, but through my education lens, I've been on the ground helping the families that I represent here in this district. And that's why I think I'm best for the job.
Thank you. And Cecilia Cortez.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. I am Cecilia Cortez. I'm running for City Council District 40. I am an immigrant. My family to New York City as a teenager. We came searching for the American dream, and I went to school. I got a master's. I became a teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing. I have served them for the last 35 years. I also work as a chapter leader for the United Federations of Teachers. And services have been always part of my life. As soon as I moved into Dilmas Park West 30 years ago, I became a member of the association. I worked very hard in many projects. I plant trees, I organize different events, and I have served food. I have worked with many organizations, Flatbush Network, PINS, the Dilmas Park Association, beautifying Newkirk Plaza, Cortelio Road, Parkside Avenue. As your city council representative, I will make sure that the garbage is picked up, the budget is taken care. All the schools have the resources to serve the kids, to make sure that they are able to keep up with the work. I will work in affordable housing. Brooklyn is a quilt made out of many people with diverse backgrounds. I want to be the voice of that diversity. I wanted Brooklyn to be for them what Brooklyn is for me. When I came as a teenager, I didn't speak English. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a job. I went to school, I got an education, I got a job. I have many opportunities. The American dream came true. I want to serve and I want to make sure that all those opportunities that were available to me are available to the people of Brooklyn to continue to make Brooklyn a beautiful place. I want to serve Brooklyn and keep Brooklyn as number one. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Blake Morris has joined us. I hear some echoing, so I'm going to put you back on mute over here. Thank you, Blake Morris. We're just doing introductions. You have 90 seconds to tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you better than the rest of the people on this screen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Blake Morris. Sorry that I'm late. It's good to meet everyone. How long do I have a chance to say? Is this just an intro?
Yes, 90 seconds.
Oh, 90 seconds. Super. So I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 30 years. I've been a resident of Ditmas Park for 20 years. My family's been living in Brooklyn since the 1870s. I'm really excited about running for city council. I think I have something to deliver to and offer to the people of this district and of this city. We have a very competitive race. It is ranked choice voting. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And I think the district has been underserved for a very long time. And we need a lot of work in housing, education, healthcare, transportation. It's a very long list. And we need to find some very workable, immediate solutions to repair a lot of the damage that's been done even before the pandemic and from the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. And not to put you on the spot, Blake, but I'm going to do it because it came up in a debate last night that everyone hates white men right now. Just going to say it. So what makes you think that you could be the best guy for this district, Blake, from your experience, maybe? What makes you think you're the best for District 40, keeping that in mind?
Exactly. So one of the things that I've been doing for the past over 30 years is being an advocate for others, right? Advocate for clients, advocate for citizens, and those skills that I've been really successful in getting results for people, I can get those same results for the district. And I think what the voters want of the district is they want someone to deliver something to them, right? And so that is what I would like to be able to do. And and since since it's been over 140 years, 150 years, I think my family and myself are somewhat integrated into the fabric of Brooklyn.
Thank you. Thanks for being
You're welcome.
here. It's a question that came up last night and I
Yeah,
thought
it's a good question.
Valid question. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks for introducing yourselves. And for those who are just joining us, we are live. We have a live audience. People have already submitted some questions and everyone's been short and sweet with their time. So I really appreciate that. Maybe we'll get a little discussion based. I see some questions have already come in. I'll just start with one of the questions. Someone said that the candidates say that they want to reach out to all the neighborhoods, but only one candidate, this person, anonymous attendee named Rita, says that her website has other languages on it. And they say that they allege that the rest of your websites do not. And the question here is, how will you demonstrate that you can reach out to underserved and immigrant communities as an elected official when you're not even doing so as a candidate with your websites only in one language? And I'll leave this open. We can have it as a discussion if anyone wants to answer this question.
Well, I can
I'll start.
For me, it really is reaching people where they are in person. And so we have been going to many of the, corners of our community, many of the corners of our district, and actually speaking to folks with interpretation, talking about their specific issues. And it's about the touch. And not everybody's going to go on a website. It really is you bringing government to them and not necessarily having folks, rely on your traditional routes to get information. And that's why there are certain communities that are marginalized because they don't necessarily access in the same ways. And so we recognize that and we are interacting in a very tangible and tactile way.
Okay, maybe I should be more organized. We'll go around. Edwin.
Yeah, so I agree with Kenya. It's you're there, you know, I mean, obviously for different reasons, I can see why the question was asked, but being there with the people, being directly accessible to them is crucial. And obviously because of the different languages, one of the things that we've done in my campaign, we translate our literature, Urdu, Creole, English, you know, so the literature is translated, but most importantly, we have people who can translate with us, you know, as we're out there. And you know, again, piggybacking off of what Kenya said, it's the connections that you make in real time that are crucial.
Yes, Josh.
So I would also add to that even before I was running for office, I run a civic education radio program all in Haitian Creole because there's a significant Haitian Creole speaking population. So all of the issues we're talking about, whether it be housing, crime, safety, properly funding our schools, education, et cetera. These are issues I've already discussed with the Haitian Creole speaking population prior to running for office. And when I go into the Urdu speaking population, I have somebody there with me that's translating. There's this concept that however one communicates is how everybody communicates, but that's not how it works. You do have to meet people where they are. So if you know there are populations that prefer radio, you go to radio. If there are populations that prefer websites and social media, you go there. And I basically used all of those mediums that were previously mentioned to make sure that everybody feels like their voice is being heard and that they have a say in government. And that's how I plan to run my office if elected to the city council.
Thank you. Yes, Rita.
Thank you. Language access has always been important to me as an ESL educator. So always meeting people where they are in terms of language. I speak Haitian Creole. I speak on the Haitian radio stations frequently. And when I do visit other communities that English is not their first language, always someone on my team who speaks that language. So representation does matter. So if I'm going into a community, I make sure that I'm there with the person who knows how to speak the language properly, the nuisance as well, because languages have little nuances. Then I make sure that I'm not offending anyone. So definitely my website is bilingual and I do travel with a bilingual team. Language access on every level in government to me is very important. Whether they come to the school, to a hospital, or just come to my office, I want to make sure that their language is represented and they feel that I'm working for them.
And Cecilia?
Yes, I have been out there on the field, talking to people every day and getting to know the neighborhood. District 40, they know me. I have been out there and I speak Spanish and sign language. So I have been able to communicate with people directly, making sure that I know what they're saying and making sure that I learn what are the needs in the community. I also have some videos in my website that are in Spanish and they are closed captioned because making sure that the deaf community has access to it. And that has been part of my education, my working life as a teacher, as a chapter leader, as a community organizer, to get into the community and to get to speak to them directly, to see what are the needs are, and to making sure that I get to know them. And I will continue to do that because that's what I do, communicating with them directly, one-to-one. And I have been out there in the field since last January, even during COVID, been very well covered, but trying to talk to them.
Thank you. And Blake, in all fairness, the question came in before you joined us. So I'm not sure about your website, if it has multi-languages.
No, but it does not have multiple languages. I'm only an English speaker, and I'm certainly challenged by English myself. So yes, it's just a question of resources, and we certainly want to expand resources and language ability and outreach to all kinds of people. And when I'm a city council member, we'll make sure that the office it is a full range of languages, Haitian Creole, and the other languages spoken in the district.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I'd like to dive into police. It's a hot button issue in all parts of the city, and specifically in this district too. I had the chance to talk to Edwin Raymond on my 3 questions in 3 minutes, as I have with Josue Pierre and Cecilia Cortez. So You other three, please contact me separately. We'll do the 3 questions in 3 minutes, but let's dive into police and just talk about anything you want to say about public safety policing when it comes to the city, when it comes to the issues, and when it comes to your district specifically. And we'll do this for 90 seconds each, and we'll begin with Edwin Raymond.
So right now, the numbers are not in the right direction. We have nearly 80% more people who have been victims of gun violence, a 22% increase in homicides compared to this time last year. We haven't even hit the summer yet. That's usually when we get the spikes. The spikes have started since February. We need a balance between public safety and making sure people's rights aren't violated. Unfortunately, the police department's leadership, they like to use the sledgehammer. When things like this happen, it usually gives them carte blanche to just do, to really terrorize the rest of the community, creating unnecessary collateral damage. So it's crucial that we have the right leadership in City Hall, we get the right mayor, we get the right commissioners, et cetera. But what I would plan to do as a council member is be the chair of public safety, where I can apply 13 years of knowledge in how to achieve public safety, but also as someone who's quite detriment of the police department, I'll make sure I do it without the cancer that's been plaguing and terrorizing neighborhoods for decades.
Okay, does anyone else want to chime in? Let's do Josh, Pierre, your thoughts on anything police related, crime, public safety.
Thank you. So this is something I approach with 2 personal balance situations. Growing up growing up as one of 4 Black boys in Flatbush, I know what police harassment looks like. I know when an officer from way out from Suffolk County or wherever stares you down because of the color of your skin. But I also know that my mom was the victim of a stray bullet due to gun violence. And so who are the first folks that were there to help her out? It was the police officers. So I'm very acutely aware of the need for us to have safety. And at the same time, I'm very acutely aware personally of the need for real, actual police reform. And so I'm not afraid to say that we need an independent prosecutor and investigator when it comes to police misconduct. And at the same time, we have seen how community neighborhood policing with NCOs has been successful. And those NCOs go out there, they get to know the neighbors, they get to know the community, and the community feels comfortable and safe with them. And so community and police work together in order to make sure that everyone is safe. No one at the end of the day is looking to feel less safe. Everybody wants to leave there, come back from work, school, or play, and be alive and safe. And that's what we can achieve with both policing reform and actual community centered policing.
Okay, Kenya, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I think we really need to think about how we're going to reimagine public safety, how we're going to reimagine the police and its role in our communities. We need to really think about putting front-end investments into crime prevention, rather than the enforcement, kind of how we as a culture put a lot of money into enforcement, but it's only reactive. And so if we really were to look at the budget, whoever's going to win this race and go into in January is going to, they're going to get the current FY23, FY22, 23 budget. And if you look at it now, there are no cuts. There are no real significant cuts to the NYPD to then transfer that appropriation to, education, to youth programming, et cetera. When you look at DYCD's budget, they are relying on city council discretionary funding and not really putting real, tangible, certain funding in youth programming. And so when we're looking at coming in and how we're going to, apply this money, we need to make sure that it is actually going to the places we know will prevent crime instead of the enforcement. And then we also need to really think about the structure of accountability. It cannot be that we have 4 agencies that have oversight over the NYPD. If we really want to be genuine about how we're going to create the oversight, we have to consolidate these agencies so that they have one funding stream and that they have the ability to do, one cook in the kitchen that is, commanding the generals. And so we really need to make sure that the accountability is centralized and that the efficiency of the agency is addressed. Because if you look at the NYPD right now, it is a mess. Communication structure, when you're talking about resources, right now the budget, most of it is going to patrol overtime. So we really need to look at the renegotiation of our project labor agreements, because we cannot just keep giving overtime money to cops that are going to stand around on a peaceful protest watching us exercise our First Amendment right. It should really see how we're going to integrate that money again with bridging that gap and everyone having a concerted effort to prevent crime instead of reacting to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Rita.
During the summertime, the police were not just patrolling, they were brutal to the Black Lives Matter protesters. They were brutal to us. So they weren't just standing around. So I kind of disagree with them standing around at protests. They were very brutal to us. And I think for me as a mom, I'm a mom of 4 Black boys. For me, the training has to stop. Our goal is to reform, but I think the reform should also start from training. From day one, coming into communities and not having bias, not having the way they police our communities are different. I had the similar experience where over the summer, my car was shot up, 3 bullets. They showed up and they did what they were supposed to do. So of course, public safety come in hand. And on the same token, my son was driving my car because of my name. He didn't match my description. He was already in handcuffs. Until my other son was one way, wait a minute, that's my mom's car. So there's a disconnect with the community when they come in. There's no question, there's no de-escalation. As an educator, I am required, mandatory, to take de-escalation classes and for me to interact with elementary school students. I'm not even in a high school level. And I'm mandated to take de-escalation classes. So I think it's the same thing that should happen to the NYPD. We need reform, that will be the end goal. But we need to start off from training from day one. The same amount of level of training I'm required as an educator to teach kids. I'm not policing them, I'm not putting them in jail, I'm not putting handcuffs. I think the same level of training needs to go into the NYPD in order to have real reform. Not just, we're cutting budgets, I'm for it. I'm $3 billion 4 years, I'm in it. But the training needs to be, it has to match. And it has to make sense, because right now it doesn't make no sense at all what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing things. So definitely training needs to start on how they police our communities from day one.
And Cecilia.
Yes, I am a member of the Didymus Parkways Association, and we have every month a meeting. And in that meeting, the police comes and give a report of the crimes that had happened in the community during that month. And when I think about that, I think about what it takes a community to be organized and to request that the police come every month and give a report. And that's something that we as a community, you could use that as a request, as a demand that from the police, because we are the ones who are paying their budget, their salaries, and we are the ones who they are accounted to, and they are working for us. So we should demand that they come into our communities and treat us well. Also, we should not have them as a first respondent for everything. They do not have the training to respond for every event and every activity. They are high school graduate who have applied to become policemen. We teachers, for instance, as a teacher, I could say I went to college and graduate level, and then I constantly get retraining. And there are many classes that we were asked to take, courses in drug addiction and alcoholic and child abuse. The same, and the training is constantly, is all every year you have to take classes. And these are the things that they need to do. They serve us. We should be the one who outline what we need from our policemen who are saving. We need psychologists, people who advise our kids, who take care of our kids in our school. That's where the money should go, rather. And the police, there is a place for the police. They should do the training that they are supposed to do, to be policemen, not the solution for every problem.
And Blake Morris, your thoughts on this?
Right. So here's a very good difference between the candidates. So you just heard the other candidates talking about this issue, and we all concur on the policy issue, on the policy concerns, the way the police are actually conducting their business today, and the policy issues for tomorrow. Right, where there's a complete concurrence there. But what you did not hear was anything really about budgets and dollar amounts. So in actuality, when last summer, when everyone was protesting about cutting the police budget or transferring the missions of the police, the city council actually raised the police budget by $700 million. We transferred $1 billion for school safety officers to DOE, the Department of Education, but that's not going to happen for another 2 years. And we have not transferred non-core police missions to other agencies like meter reading, right? Mental health programs. Actually, last week, 2 weeks ago, the city did some of this, started the process of the transfer change, right? Inspecting street vendors, giving out press credentials. So there's a complete mission creep of the NYPD. So we can look at substantial transfers of the budget, and we can do that immediately in the next fiscal year, and focus to put the NYPD on their core mission, which is public safety. And then going to Rita's point, the thing that she was talking about, but she did not mention the item, is a thing called the patrol guide. Edwin Raymond knows a lot about the patrol guide because he's an active police officer. So we can have, as the city council, we can actually start reviewing that patrol guide, and we can actually start making policy changes, and we can make the changes wholesale. And then we can start with the police, and we can actually change the way police are trained in the police academy and everywhere else. So these are the details that matter about who you're going to elect for city council. Thank you.
Can I interject?
Yes, of course, Edwin, let's bring you back in. You know, I would love to hear your thoughts on everything your candidate said from a police perspective.
Yeah, so, you know, I appreciate anyone who takes a leadership position. Obviously, this is an area where I have the most expertise. First, Cecilia, I do have my college degree, just letting you know. Most police officers today actually have some college. You actually have to have your degree to become captain and different levels of education. You actually can't enter with just a high school diploma. That has been done away with since about 1997. What Blake said is right. The patrol guide is a crucial document that's basically the operational structure of patrol and how patrol works. But this is where it's crucial to understand. You can read ink on paper, but then but having the actual experience is crucial. You understand? So in revising or amending the patrol guide, again, there's theory and ivory tower, and there's pragmatism. And this is one of the areas where, you know, I look forward to doing this because, you know, Blake has it right. And this is not a jab at all. Just let you know, since I've become a whistleblower for 5 years, police officers have reached out all around the nation, and obviously here in New York. And, you know, the leadership has a way of creating this image of change when it's all cosmetic, and behind the scenes, the game continues. The neighborhood coordinating officers, of all the officers who reach out in agony, they are the most who reach out on my Instagram. Some find my email, some see me when I'm out in the streets, and they share their stories of what's really going on. So believe me, going to church, kissing babies, getting to know people's names, it's cosmetic. There's a deep cultural issue in the police department. I've studied it, I know it, I've had firsthand knowledge with it, and this is what I plan to dismantle.
Does anyone else want to respond about police before we move on to the next topic?
But also, I think we should think about how we're, you know, to Edwin's point, we need to get rid of the rant. I can tell you from an investigative perspective, we use some of the language from the rant to actually prosecute officers. So, you know, when you're looking at the culture, we can start with the rant and then move into more of the policy points.
So I know that that's a strong suit of Edwin's. Let's tap into the other candidates' strong suits and have a similar sort of discussion. Kenya, why don't you kick us off on what you think is your strong suit or your number one issue that makes you most passionate about going into the city council?
Sure. I mean, I think when you're looking at who I am as just kind of an operative, I understand how the intersection between politics, policy, and people, and how to use that to then create sound and tangible policy. And that is what the basis of the job is. It's not necessarily to be the activist. It's not necessarily to be the show person. It is to galvanize community around policy prescriptions and to put it in tangible language that can then be budgeted with an appropriative measure and then resourced through the agency. And that is my skill set. That is what I've been doing on the federal, state, and local level. Plus, it's also utilizing one's investigative power to hold agencies accountable. So it's partnering with your activists on the street to polarize government, push them to do the job, but it's in the back end having those negotiative conversations to ensure that the language is placed in the bill and it's actually passed, knowing the points of power and how to leverage that for your benefit so you can actually deliver for the district.
Okay. Josue Pierre, you want to tell us about what you bring to the table that's unique from the other people on the screen?
So one of probably the most pressing issue as you go along and meet residents in Flatbush in particular, but throughout the 40th district, is we have one of the highest rates of eviction barring the moratorium. And people are very housing insecure, whether it be they can't afford, they feel like they're being evicted from what they have, they can't afford new housing, or face homelessness. And so what I bring to the table is this: I'm the only candidate with actual concrete experience in creating real affordable housing. And I want to add the caveat that immediately residents will say, well, affordable to whom? And so for Flatbush residents, that can mean $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. So very often when that topic comes up, people talk about rezoning, they talk about AMI, they talk about these different things that impact it on the periphery. But if you come from the affordable housing sector, you know the major impediment is financing, how to make it affordable so that nonprofit organizations and even for-profit organizations actually want to create the affordable housing that we need in our communities at levels that match the needs of our community. So I've done that. During my time as a financial analyst at the Comptroller's Office, I used billions of dollars of public pension money to create over 3,000 units of real affordable housing from the Bronx to East New York. That's why when you go on housingconnect.com and you try to apply for affordable housing, you're like, oh, why is it in the Bronx? Why is it in East New York? Well, now I want to bring that here into Flatbush where the need is very important. The other thing is that it has to be a continuum. We have to address evictions. We have one of the highest rates of evictions in the 11226 and the 11225 zip code, which is why I've been proposing a tenant protection unit. We have to then create the affordable housing, which I've done in the past. And then we have to move towards a point of actual social economic mobility. And the basis of that has always been home ownership. So we can start with affordable co-op, HDFCs, things that I've also funded while I was at the Office of the Comptroller. So the ability to do that is there. I'm bringing it to the table. And I do understand that once we get past this pandemic, it's going to continue to be the number one issue faced by so many in our community. And we can do this without putting glass towers that block our sunlight or destroy the contextual makeup of neighborhoods like PLG or Ditmas Park, Victorian Flatbush. It's achievable. It's a big lie that they can't afford to do it. I know because I did it.
Blake, do you want to continue this topic of conversation when it comes to affordable housing and financing it?
Oh, I do. And I have a lot of experience with housing and land use. I used to work at the Department of City Planning. I worked in operations in managing property throughout the city for many years. And my specialty as an attorney is contract disputes and all kinds of property damage for buildings. So we really need to protect the communities and the people within them. And most of the things that Josh had said, I do agree with, but I do want to just clarify some points. So we already have a tenants protection unit in the mayor's office. We have an entire city agency of HPD, Housing Preservation and Development, focused on tenant protection. So we already have a lot of we have plenty of bureaucracy to protect tenants. Are we actually doing the job effectively? That's a different story. And are we having the different roles connected and being effective? But I do want to talk about land use and ULURP. So it's really important we have historic districts within the 40th district, and these historic districts are under attack. A lot of people want to invade the historic districts. They want to put infill housing. They want to increase the density. I would be opposed to that. The whole idea of historic districts is to preserve the character and the integrity of these neighborhoods. And at the same time, we want to build affordable housing through city funding on city property in places outside of the historic districts. Thank you.
Yeah, so I saw Josh and Kenya had hands in the air as you were speaking. So let's go to Josh first.
Yeah, so I've heard this rebuttal before of because I did put out an op-ed for the fact that we need a tenant protection unit. And maybe because Mr. Morris is not a tenant, or maybe he hasn't had an opportunity to speak to very many tenants in the Flatbush area, he might not know that nobody's aware of this mayoral prerogative. It's a mayoral prerogative. What does that mean? That means if the sitting mayor is not actually putting effort into it, funding into it, et cetera, it is as if it doesn't exist. And for a lot of folks in Flatbush, when you're first and second generation immigrants, a lot of these laws don't exist because there's no enforcement. The way to get the enforcement, we traveled up to Albany in 2019 to pass these laws to protect tenants from preferential rent increases, MCIs, and all types of tenants harassment. We've passed those laws, but they still don't exist for folks on the ground because there's no enforcement. By taking the tenant protection unit and putting it at HPD, making it part of an agency with a line item budget allocated to it on a routine and ordinary basis, now the tenants have a place to go to when they face harassment. Ask anybody along Ocean Avenue if they've ever heard of this mayoral tenant protection unit. But with this, we'll be able to have on the ground engagement with tenants so that when folks do have these issues, when their leases are being improperly given back to them, when they're getting illegal increases and all these other things that have been pushing us out of this community for so long, they'll actually have some sort of recourse. So to say that tenants don't need a protection unit does not make sense to me, and I completely disagree. I would encourage him to read my op-ed on it, which is published in your publication, by the way, Schneps.
Blake, did you want 30 seconds to respond since Josh called you out, and then we'll go to Kenya?
Oh, sure. I don't think I need 30 seconds. All right, so I don't believe in the Full Employment for Bureaucrats Act, and that's what Josh basically has. So we want to focus our resources on the public, on tenants, to get results. Josh is a little bit more focused on actually rearranging the deck chairs at City Hall and at HPD. So I would not be interested in that, and that's not really the results that the public wants.
Josh?
I would encourage Blake to go and have a conversation with some of the Black and brown tenants along Ocean Avenue that are now, I'm having those conversations with, and are saying, I wish we had this in place, and I'm looking forward to making sure it happens for them.
Okay, let's go to Kenya.
Yeah, I think I would piggyback off of Blake just to say that if you understood how agencies operate, they don't like to share resources. And when you have something that is created like the Mayor's Office of Tenant Protections, it gives them the flexibility to work with the agencies that have the resources that they can get to the ground. So it really is, I think it's more of a matter of the reason why our tenants don't know about it is because of the type of representation that we've had for the past 15 years. But the fact is that when you have somebody who understands how to pull those resources, how to bring those agencies together to actually deliver for the district, then you will understand the need of not creating these big, grandiose progressive ideas that need to be funded and often aren't funded. It's about giving HPD the resources they need. If you look at this budget, they cut DOB, incredible. So when you're talking about violations, they don't have the money to even go and investigate. So we need to make sure that the existing agencies have greater integration, and that we as I as a city council member or whomever is making sure that they are actually coordinating, and you are bringing them by the ear to the ground to make sure that they are giving tenants the resources. It can't just be big bureaucracy. It has to be allowing the flexibility and ability to be accountable to the people that they're supposed to serve.
Cecilia.
And then I'll go after.
Oh, sure.
I bring to the table my background on education. I want to make sure that schools are well funded, that kids have all the resources to maintain a good education. We just witnessed what happened this year due to COVID. 40% of the kids in District 40 did not get the technology to keep up with the work. They didn't get tablets, Wi-Fi, nothing. And that also spilled onto violence in District 40. We had a series of violent crimes, shootings by teenagers. And when the reports come out, they say that is because the teenagers are not in school. They have not the technology to be in a school. They don't have the resources. And the only thing they have is the guns, the violence in the neighborhoods. And whenever little things happen, they go to the guns. So we have to also have the after school programs, because what we have to do is District 40 is a district that has all kinds of people. We have to make sure that we bring pride to our people, make sure that we bring programs where we teach our youth to love themselves, to be proud of who they are. We have resources, bring programs using second languages. We have a variety, Haitian people, people from Pakistan, Bangladesh, South America, Russia. Everyone is in the District 40. We can use so that our people are proud of who they are. And when you know who you are, you can plan the future. You don't get stuck and you are not looking for violence or people or issues that are not there. So that's what we have to do. We, as a city council, I will make sure that all those programs get supported, get funded, and we have the resources to make sure that our youth, our children get the proper education and the proper support that they need.
Thank you. And Rita.
What I bring to the table is 21 years of experience as an educator, but that's not the only thing I bring. I bring lived experience with students. 1 out of 8 of my students who live in this district are homeless. They live in shelters. So I know their triumphs and I know their struggles. So as a future council member, definitely will bring class sizes down, access to technology, making sure that the students in the shelters are moved into permanent homes. So affordable housing is on my list, a passion. My students want to make sure when I get elected that their voices are heard at City Hall. So therefore, as an educator, it's the cornerstone of everything. If we use the data that we have from our 4th grade scores to determine that how many jails you're going to build. So it's my business as a city council member to make sure that these students get a world-class education. So therefore, education has always been the platform and the foundation. Whether for example, there's about 60,000 students, and this is citywide, that were not able to log on to remote learning because they had no devices. Or if they live in the shelter, the Wi-Fi, the iPads that we were giving them could not get into the building. So I had suggested, and had anyone ask me as an expert on the ground, lived experience, get these students some the Wi-Fi boxes. Oh God, I forgot the word escaped me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have had that. And citywide, we have about 114,000 students living in shelters. So it's not a problem, it's a crisis. So as your next city council member, I would go in there and fight for my students for affordable housing that are depending on me every night to make sure they have a home, to make sure that they have access to a world-class education, technology, and a place and police reform so that they're treated right. And after school program, I brought that to my school, whether it's theater, dance, they had it. Girls who code in my class. I'm a techie, undercover, and make sure that my students have access to technology, and not only access, but know how to use it. I came with coding, STEM, all of that in my school. And as a council member, I plan to duplicate that in other schools in the district. And I've been talking to other elected council people, and I've worked with elected and making sure that I get these resources. So the experience is there to working and getting resources, connecting family to resources, and connecting elected officials. So getting to City Hall, every beginner, every expert now was a beginner. So yeah, I haven't been in legislative and haven't done that, but also I've had the experience on the ground, working with electeds to make sure that my school was well-funded with technology and had everything that they had. So coming to this table, not just an educator, but a community activist, a mom, and someone who's ready to fight for this district that I love so much.
Mm-hmm. And Blake, was there a different issue or the same issue that you wanted to talk more about that you would bring to the table that's unique from maybe some of the people on the screen?
Well, I think the other important issue that we've not covered yet, and also I have a lot of expertise on, is transportation. I used to sit in the informal policy board of the Transit Authority for many years, worked on policy with DOT, which is Department of Transportation, worked on waterfront policy in the Department of City Planning and in the operational agencies of the city. And so what we can do is actually create immediate solutions. A lot of people don't realize that the normal 4-year city council term in this cycle is only 2 years. Yeah. So whoever gets elected in this term only has 2 years before they have to run for re-election again to actually accomplish something. And so one of the things that I would like to do is there is a trolley tunnel packed with sand underneath of the dangerous intersection of Ocean Parkway and Church Avenue. And we can actually dig that sand out and make that a pedestrian underpass. Candidate Joseph actually did a street blog article only today or yesterday. Rita, was that today or yesterday? Today. And she actually focused on the intersection just to the east of that of Church Avenue and Coney Island Avenue. She had some very good suggestions there. But what you didn't have was unpacking the trolley tunnel with sand that we can actually do right away, would not be very expensive, and we actually can create a lot of safety. We have a lot of pedestrians that get killed at that intersection every year.
Interesting. And I know I brought up policing to begin with. Edwin, I didn't give you your chance to pick a topic that may be most important to you. I assume that policing was that topic, but was there another topic or maybe more about policing that you would like to share?
Yeah, so, as I'm out there meeting the people, learning from the people, and just as someone who understands the concerns, because I've always been here, education, we need Title I schools where students majority of the students, their household income is below the poverty line. They need the funding. The way in which schools are funded, so many schools in particular neighborhoods have not gotten the funders they needed. One of the things that I'm pushing for are academic improvement and enrichment program vouchers. That the students who are falling behind, this helps them get the tutoring that they need and the extracurricular activities that is just immeasurable what that can do for someone in their development. If you don't have the disposable income, you can't get into those programs. So this is one of those things where we have to work to provide to our students, obviously technology, something that Rita spoke to earlier. A lot of students. So I like to interview everyone. That's the type of leader I am. And oftentimes when people speak about school, they leave the students out. I'd say 80% of the students I speak to, there's a technology issue. Sometimes they can't stay online, et cetera. It's the 21st century. There's no reason why things should continue in that direction. So culturally responsive curriculum is also important. I have a literacy program I founded a nonprofit that mentors young boys and men in the community. You should see the before and afters. Some of them were gangsters, felons, etc. You should see how they can conducting themselves now. But a lot of times literacy was a big part of the issue. So I started a literacy program where I give culturally reflective books to kids in the community. I do it when I'm at work. I always keep books in my car for the kids, books on Dr. King, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, etc. And we can also reflect this in the cafeteria. Flatbush is very unique in the different cultures. So I think the food should be reflected culturally in the cafeteria also.
Thank you. Were there any other, I know we didn't get to talk about a lot of issues, but we have 4 minutes left. Let's see how time flies. And I want to give everyone an opportunity for conclusion. Does anyone want to add anything else for 30 seconds before we move on to the last round?
Yeah, we definitely have a growing sanitation issue here in Flatbush. Not just Flatbush, in the 40th, throughout the 40th, everywhere I've gone to, whether it's Flatbush Avenue, Nostrand Avenue, Church Avenue, Cortelli Road, Coney Island. And, we have merchants associations, but what would be a step up from the merchants associations are business improvement districts, which would have additional cleaning, marketing, and provide additional resources to our local businesses and help with those vacancy rate issues that we have. So that's something I've also written on, and I look forward to working with community members and business owners to see if they're viable and make sense for different parts of the community.
Where isn't there a Flatbush Avenue bid that's not in this district?
No, so the bids are not contiguous, right? So what you have is one section that has a bid, but when you get past Parkside Avenue on Flatbush going up towards Empire, there's nothing there.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about bids, we really have to be honest about our ability to get a bid. The property owners are the prohibitor in that process. You look at the business owners, they want a bid. You look at, community members, they may want a bid, or they're leery about a bid because of its role in gentrification. But when you're looking at the property owners, they are the hardest part. And when you're looking at, Cortelli Road, they have been trying to get the property owners organized so that they can create a bid, but they can't get it. So it really is making sure that we go to the property owners and we get their buy-in so that we can then, if not, it's about strengthening the merchants associations, strengthening organizations, and then utilizing that to then invest in our business corridors. That is really important to me. We have a large arts and culture community. We can create and invest in small business corridors to make it an arts and culture destination. And that way we can create a greater currency within the neighborhood so that that dollar is going multiple times in all aspects of our local economy versus it go barely once and then leave. So when we're talking about investment in our corridors, we cannot sell out that idea of it being a bid without really practically talking about how we're going to get there, because it is not easy. And that's why Flatbush between Empire and Parkside and then Nostrand Avenue have not been bids, and why even Cortelli Merchants Association has not been create a bid, because the property owners are the ones who are getting in the way.
But we don't do things because they're easy. We do them because they're important and critical. I'm very aware that it's hard to get a bid, but that's not why we shouldn't do it. We want to do it because a merchants association will have a $25,000 budget. A bid will have a $250,000, $500,000 budget. We need that. We need that to get sanitation and cleaning in our community. We are the ones that are selling our community short. We got to put in the hard work and get it done. And that's what I intend to do.
Thank you. And I really want to say something quick. Go.
No, as future council member, that's what good governance is. Being there for the community, listening, and also bringing them in to make sure that we sell them the hard sell. It's not going to be easy, but it has to be done. And that's what a good council member will do.
Yes, but if you can't find the property owners because they live in Jersey or they live somewhere else, it is about practical with your electorate, making sure that the community understands the reality and the paradigm through which they're operating. If not, you're selling them a bale of goods.
I know how to find a property owner if I get in a controller's office.
Let's hear from Cecilia, and then we have to do
at the controller's office. You didn't go and find a property owner.
Here,
you have no idea what I did at the controller's office.
You guys, no fighting on here. Cecilia, quick.
It's all love. We
one of the things to attract people and to get our corridors to people to come is to clean it up. We have, in order for people to come to Cortelio Road restaurants, who are many new restaurants on Cortelio Road, many new restaurants, even on Nostrand Avenue, we have to clean them up. And we have to get rid of the garbage that is piled up there and get rid of the rats. You don't want anybody coming into those restaurants when rats are running out to underneath the gates. So
Right.
we must work on that in order to make some improvements.
Thank you. Look, it's 6:01, so we didn't even get to do a conclusion. So we're just going to go around rapid fire. Everyone say one word or one phrase that you want to leave voters with that makes them remember you. Ready? Edwin.
Dedication.
Cecilia.
Working hard.
Kenya.
Honest experience.
Blake.
Blake for better living.
Rita.
Team player.
And Josh.
I'll be present.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for this discussion / debate on behalf of Schneps Media and PoliticsNY. Thank you so much. We're here to amplify your voice. Send us your op-eds, tag us in social media. We are the only outlet doing this for everyone. District 40, thank you so much. Thank you to our live audience. And take care. Good luck to you and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.